Ed Bouchette, our Steelers insider, is indeed on the Nemacolin fan hotline. And Ed, I wanted to start today with the Dwayne Haskins tragedy. It feels like the Steelers have known their share, or more than their share, of it in these, well, for a long time, really. But we saw Darryl Drake, the wide receiver coach, a couple of years ago, I think that was, pass away. And this one, it was one of those things where I know I'll always remember where I was when I got the news. Just a horrific day, really, for the Steelers. Your thoughts?
Yeah, we get notices from the Athletic when news happens, and the thing flashed over. It said Dwayne Haskins, and I'm going, well, he already signed, so I wonder what that's all about. And Joe, it's just I have no words. I mean, who would have ever thought something like that could happen? I mean, we've seen players get killed in car wrecks. The safety from Washington, terrible, murdered at home. But nothing as bizarre as this, right? I mean, I'm looking for some answers, as everyone else is, as to why he was crossing that road, and I don't know that we're ever going to know.
Ed, it's funny. You said you got a notice. I happen to look at my phone. I have the ESPN app, and I go to it, and I see a picture of Haskins. I can't see anything but a picture of him, and I'm thinking, this can't be good. And then I scroll down, breaking news, and it tells me what happened. I could just remember seeing that picture thinking, this cannot be good.
Yeah. It wasn't, Ron. I mean, you and I have been around long enough to see a lot of these things where people die suddenly.
Gabe Rivera, I thought of right away, right? That was 83. He didn't die.
Yeah.
He didn't die, but paralyzed.
The rookie who was driving back after a game
Randy
at Three
Frisch.
Rivers.
Randy Frisch.
That stuck in me for a long time. I was working in Greensburg at the time, and he was on his way down Route 30 in the rain. It's just what can you say? I mean, both personally and professionally, he was cut short. You would have loved to have seen what he could have become, because I think he was going to be a factor. That's why they signed him to more than $2 million in a restricted free agent. That's not chump money. They must have thought something about him to do that, or else they would have let him go and moved along to somewhere else, right?
Ed, so how does this complicate their quarterback situation? Now they have two guys under contract. Does this make it more likely that they'll use that first pick for a quarterback? They certainly got to get probably two more quarterbacks in here before training camp.
Yeah, I don't think it makes it more likely they use the first pick, Ron. Not that they won't do that, but I don't think this changes their plan going in. What might change is that they could draft somebody in the later rounds, or they're going to have to sign a rookie free agent, or they need a third-string quarterback. And Dobbs signed with Cleveland last week. So I would think if they don't get one in the first round, you might see them get one in the fourth, fifth. I forget what round it is. They don't have one. I think it's the fifth, right? Is it the fifth they don't have a pick, or
I don't
fourth?
remember.
I don't know. I don't either. But one of those rounds they don't have a pick. But I would think, I mean, they always have four going into camp, and I would assume they're going to have four this time. And one could be a rookie, and another could be some schlub off the streets.
So how would you like to be the schlub off the street?
Well,
in the meantime,
where's Duck? Where's Duck these days?
He might be in the XFL with Hines Ward and Rod Woodson. But I wanted to ask you, Ed, it's also today the 5-year anniversary of the passing of Dan Rooney. And just kind of what springs to mind when that name is mentioned for you?
I miss him. I miss him tremendously. I really do. I had a good relationship with Dan. We talked a lot when we were around. Every game before every kickoff, he would come and find me, if you will, or when he was having trouble moving around, Bert Lawton would come get me, and I'd go over to Dan and have a little chat before the game. I missed that. He went too soon. I mean, he wasn't a young man, but to me, he still went too soon. He was vibrant right up to the end, I think. And he was just so good for not only his team but the NFL. And I miss him a lot.
Ed, how do you think his son has done, Art II?
I think he's done well.
Those are big
Ron.
shoes to fill, obviously, but
yeah.
Dan had big shoes to fill too. Different sort of way than the Chief. But how do you think Art has done overall?
I think he's done well. I really do. I mean, a lot of people are snickering now because those are the people who think they should win the Super Bowl every year. But, he was named president. I'm trying to remember the year, but I know that they won at least one Super Bowl with him as president. Now, his dad was around, and he was, a strong personality, and Art probably listened to him a lot. But nevertheless, he was president when it was, I think, the second Super Bowl, 2008 year. And I'm looking at what they've done. I don't see a lot of things that Dan would have done differently. I really don't. He might not have liked the voidable years on the contracts, stuff like that. But he never. Hey, I remember Dan saying there will never be free agency in the NFL, and we'll never give out a contract more. We'll never give out 1-year contracts, and those have become standard, obviously.
You wrote the story, Ed. I just called it up. Art Rooney II replaced his father as Steelers president. Tuesday, July 22nd, 2003. I would be
Super Bowls.
Yeah, I would be curious just to know their management styles, their personalities. Where do you see them as similar and different?
Well, I did see Dan walking around more and saying hello to people. Not that Art doesn't. And we're there in a limited time in the locker room and everywhere else. But I did see Dan around more. Now, Art goes to a lot of things that Dan didn't go to. Art likes going to the Senior Bowl. He likes going to the Combine. What he doesn't like doing, he doesn't like going to the Super Bowl. And Dan wouldn't miss a Super Bowl. So, there are differences, but Art has a home in Florida, a second home, if you will. Dan never had a second home. He just lived in Pittsburgh and nowhere else. But there's nothing wrong with that either, right? And their management styles, I don't know that I see a lot of difference. I really don't. And if there is, I can't put a finger on it, Joe and Ron.
Great ending to the story, by the way, back then. You had Dan Rooney recalled one piece of advice his father gave him when he turned some of the decisions over to him. The Chief, he'd say, "Go ahead and do what you want, but don't make any mistakes," Dan said. And then Art II, you said, gets a different vibe from his father. Dan, he has never said it, but I think my dad's philosophy has always been, go ahead and make a decision. But if it's wrong, I certainly reserve the right to second guess you. Two great quotes there.
Art gave those people his son so much grief, especially Art Jr., who was in charge of the draft when they skipped on Marino. And it wasn't second guessing. It wasn't like once Marino became an NFL great, it was right away. He started giving him grief. Art brings that up to me often.
Ed, we know Dan was so patient with his coaches. Obviously, Cowher had the 3 non-playoff years in a row, and he gets an extension. Do you feel Art believes in that? I mean, do you think Mike Tomlin, I'm not saying he doesn't deserve to be here right now. Do you think he basically has a lifetime job?
No, I do not. I remember going into Dan Rooney's office in the 80s, Ron, and it was before I think it was before the 88 season, which was 5-11, and then, Dan ordered Chuck Noll to change some coaches. And I remember Dan saying, hey, There's no coach for life. That's exactly what he told me. There's no coach for life. And he would have pushed Noel out the door if Noel wouldn't have agreed to those coaching changes in '88. And I think Chuck retired ahead of what he knew Dan wanted him to do, which was fire Joe Walton. And so there's no reason. Mike Tomlin has given no reason for Art to get rid of him. But I can tell you, if there are reasons, and they may go beyond coaching records, there's more to a head coach than a record. The records can bounce back. Look at Sean Payton had several losing seasons, and he was reviled. Not reviled. That's the wrong word. He was acclaimed in New Orleans. There are things like hiring the wrong coaches and disagreeing with if the management wants you to change coaches. Now, Mike has obviously gone along with those, right, on a couple occasions.
Ed Bouchette on the Nemacolin fan hotline. So Mel Kiper today put his mock draft out. Ed, I know
Which one is this? Is 16th or 17th?
You're a big fan of mock drafts, and he has Kenny Pickett going at number 20. So let me ask you, because I'm sure I've asked you this in about 18 different forms previous to this, if Pickett is there at number 20, do the Steelers make that pick, in your opinion?
I think they do, Joe. I think they do. To me, it's Willis and Pickett. Now, I know that kid from Cincinnati's climbing on some boards, and how do you climb in the off season? I don't know. Maybe they look more deeply into things, I guess. But to me, I think it's those two as far as which ones the Steelers like, Willis and Pickett. And I think I started out with this thing thinking they weren't going to draft a quarterback. Now I think they will if they can. Not just to grab a quarterback. I'm talking about if the one or ones they like, they really think who can be their next good one is available when they pick, or within a few picks if they want to use a draft pick to move ahead.
Yeah, Ed, we were talking about if there's somebody you absolutely fall in love with, don't you owe it to yourself to try to move up to take them? If you absolutely love. I'm not talking about Mason Rudolph in the third round. They traded up to get him in the third round and then put a first-round grade on him. If they absolutely believe this guy can step in for Ben, maybe not this year, but next year, don't you owe it to yourself to try to move up?
Yes, you do. And the key there, Ron, is they absolutely have to think that. Not just, oh, my God, we're going to need a quarterback, that kind of thing. They have to believe that, hey, they did it with an inside linebacker. Why wouldn't you do it with a quarterback, right?
Yeah, and if they don't believe that, then why even take him at 20? That's still a pretty valuable
pick. I agree. No, I agree, Joe. I've said all along, written it, they have to believe in that guy to take him in the first round. That he's the guy. He's your next guy. He's your, not that he's going to be as good, but he's your Ben Roethlisberger. He's going to be here 10 years, maybe not 18, but you want him here 10, and he's going to lead you into some great seasons, and you feel really good about that. Then you grab him. If you don't do it. Well, just wait. Sit and wait.
So so you think they will if Pickett's available. Do you think they should, in your opinion? From what you've seen of Pickett, would that be a wise way to use the 20th pick?
Joe, I'm not a scout. I am not a scout. I go by what people say, and I think Pickett is going to be a good quarterback in the league from what people say. And if that's the case, grab him. I mean, look at the improvement from his junior to senior year, right? Now, he's going to come here, whoever the quarterback is going to come here, and they're not throwing him to the wolves the way Washington did with Haskins. They're going to nurture this guy, and they're going to show him, bring him along. That was their plan with Ben Roethlisberger, and then Maddox got hurt. That threw the whole wrench into that plan.
So if he's good, if he's if he's, Andy Dalton, okay to good, is that good enough for the 20th? Like, is that good enough to make him your guy for the future? Or I think it was Kuiper actually who said like he feels like the worst case might be Dalton, best case might be a Derek Carr type. Where do you fall on that?
That's not a bad
on that scale.
Yeah, I mean, Dalton was a decent quarterback, right? I mean,
yeah.
When he was in Cincinnati, I thought he was decent, and Carr's a good one. Carr's one people were saying they should have tried to get here, right?
They just paid him $40.5 million in Vegas.
Yeah, I know, Ron. I mean, that's wide receiver money now, right?
Yeah,
I don't know what the
Hold
money
on a
is
second
anymore.
here, Ed. Hold on a second. I can't let you get out of here on this. You've been watching football your whole adult life. You've seen a billion quarterbacks. You've watched Kenny Pickett. Would you draft him? You don't have to be a scout. Would you take him? Number 20.
I said I would.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Ron, any further questions?
Nope. Ed, how's Poppy?
We went for a little walk this morning, and before it rains, and Joe, you're not going to be able to golf. It's going to rain. Sorry about that. And he's doing well. He's getting up there. He's 7 now, Ron. He's a middle-ager.
We're all getting older, Ed. We're all getting older.
We're not getting older, Ron. We're old.
See you, Ed.
Thank you.
All right, guys. See you next week.
All right, Ron. I feel like we should. I mean, there's so much stuff to talk about, but Ed Bouchette just said he thinks the Steelers will take Kenny Pickett with the 20th pick.
He's available at 20. What if they're both available? What about Willis, too?
You should have asked Ed that. That was your mistake.
I don't know that either one will be available. And everything I read, it doesn't sound like Willis is going to be available. Maybe Pickett. We'll see. But other people tell you they like Corral. They like Sam Howell. They like this Ritter.
I know, but none of them work out 10 feet from the Steelers. I mean, this
true.
is.
They know everything about them here.
Let's talk about this.